Alright.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Tomato Sauce Podcast, the podcast for Rich Tomato. We are Rich Tomato. Zach, Shane, myself, Kim.
Yeah, good.
There you go.
Each week we come around this table, bring a topic each, and we discuss it among ourselves. So, this week, Zach's got a topic, Shane does
I got a sort of an indie spotlight kind of a thing going on. I've just picked up a couple games that have caught my eye that are coming out this month, so I thought I'd just chat about them and give off a bit of marketing for those guys. So.
Shane?
And I'll be going deep into MMOs and a few that I've tried lately and why they might be shit for me.
MMOs just in general. And I'm going to bring up... Mostly. And I'm going to bring up the topic of favourite game series from the last generation.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So those three topics below.
You can click on them.
Click on them.
You know what to do.
Have fun time.
So, let's have Shane go first this week.
Oh, me? Okay.
Go ahead, Shane.
With the MMO topic.
Take it
Yeah,
away.
sure. Alright, well, basically, I wrote about this a while ago in a blog post. But basically, around that time, I had played WildStar, like the beta.
Yes.
And the open beta. And ESO, which I had just gotten around to quitting. And so the sentiment was basically like, I've been playing a lot of MMOs lately, and they seem good on the outside, and they've got some, very powerful systems behind them, but it's really like they can't keep me engaged, and I'm getting, down on it. And I'm sort of analysing why that might be, because that's always a good sort of exercise to do when you're a developer, sort of like figure out why these things in games are making you feel these ways. And so I came up with a few ideas of why these few games were sort of, discouraging me, and sort of coined my own term, which has probably been coined before, I don't know. But basically what I like to propose is every MMO that I've played, bar maybe one, has come across the moment. The moment. MMO moment.
I'm not sure if that's going to catch on, but...
It will. Hashtag moment.
Don't hashtag.
I'll put it up in annotation.
Don't.
Okay, so basically what I think that is the time, like the moment in the game where you sort of like figure out, I'm just running in place. I'm earning more numbers so I can deal more numbers to higher numbered enemies so I can gain more numbers. Like you see the underlying sort of mechanics under it, and you see that you're not really going to progress in a way that you're going to be happy with. And like no amount of the story or whatever is engaging you, so you can't really sort of think, but this is within this cool context, so I don't really care.
I'm here for the narrative.
I'm here for the narrative.
Right.
I'm here for the fun gameplay. But if those aren't enough for me, I'll go through this thing where it's just like, I'm seeing all these underlying systems. Like, I can see the Matrix now. I'm seeing what's going on. I can see all these numbers, and nothing's really keeping me here anymore, And for WildStar, which Zach likes a lot, so tread lightly. He might beat me up after the podcast.
Don't worry.
But no, but
You state your opinions.
my opinion.
Then we'll argue it.
All right,
I'll
cool.
agree with it later.
My opinion is
Tell
that.
you how fucking right.
And one of my grievances with it was actually something that Zach told me about before, which I'll tell you about in a sec. But basically, what it was is that you start off in this one place, and it was the open beta, so there's bugs and stuff. So you have provisions for that. You sort of realize, it's not a finished product, and it is going through a big high stress situation with the open beta. But like there was a bunch of different things that weren't working at the time, and a bunch of things that were just poor design decisions that sort of made me really skeptical to the game within the first maybe like 10 minutes of the gameplay. Basically, okay, I remember now. There was this one instance where it sort of really summed up WildStar and a lot of AAA games to me, was the way in which the players taught things in the tutorial. The tutorial process is arguably the most important part of the start of the game, or even the whole game as a whole. So to screw that up isn't really, in your MO as a game designer. But it's not like they were incompetent in doing so. All the tools were there. It's just the method of delivery for them wasn't really conducive to actually teaching anyone anything.
So what about it came across as just like as useless to you? Like obviously you got into the game, like you were being shoehorned through the quests and everything, and learning all the hotkeys and stuff. But what about that sort of made you go like, like this is a terrible tutorial?
All of the tutorial was valid. The presentation was not. So basically, when you put in the game, you're introduced with a cinematic, fully voiced, fully animated, all that sort of stuff, all very fancy. And then throughout the game, you're thrown into cutscenes and stuff like that, which show the different world and the setting. And Wildstar was so trying to get you invested in the story and the setting. They put all their time and resources into showing lengthy cinematics and like really high production voice acting and stuff for the story and the setting. But the tutorial was written on dialogue boxes, which were like that big. So it's really like you listen to whatever the loudest thing in the room is. And as soon as I left the tutorial area, I forgot everything. Just because it wasn't the most memorable part of it, and not enough money, or not money, but effort was put in to actually making that a flashy thing, like fleshing out the gameplay and using the gameplay to advance, improving your skills and stuff like that. That was taking a bit of a back seat in the starting area to just look at this thing explode, look at this exposition, look at this guy talking, what a funny accent, that sort of stuff. And so that really lost me, and I had to look through like a few community pages and stuff for a lot of other people too. So it might not just be me, or it might just be me. But anyway.
I agree that the tutorial could definitely have been...
This is for Wildstar.
This is for the tutorial could have definitely been designed a bit better to be smoother and to be able to teach you things in a more interesting way. Because a lot of the quests at the start of the start and for Wildstar were just sort of the classic, talk to this person, now go here, talk to this person, now go here, talk to this person.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Kill a few things here, and then go here and talk to this person. But a lot of it was just going to places and talking to people, or like going into a room and picking something up and then giving it to a person with which they go, yeah, thanks, and then give you a
basic retrieval quest type.
Yeah. All the basic stuff, and like. I think, especially if you're a new MMO on the market with like a completely brand new
IP
world and story and characters, you need to have a sort of explosive kind of start. Like you want to get people interested immediately. You don't want to have them sort of sitting there going like, well, I'm talking to this person, but I don't really care because I'm coming into this world. I don't know who these people are. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know who I am. And here's these people with a bunch of dialogue boxes talking to me. But the thing is, like, how you said like there were small dialogue boxes. I think that's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of MMOs, when you go to the quest giver, they'll give you a whole fucking window, just like a wall of text about the quest, right? And then you'd have to scroll down and click accept at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Like World of Warcraft was exactly like that when that first came out. But the thing is, World of Warcraft could do that because they had something to build upon. They had all that lore from Warcraft 1, 2, 3, and so on and so on and so on. They could just build upon that. And you were already invested in the characters and the story and the setting. But Wildstar, they didn't have that. So having small little dialogue boxes where it was just like a small succinct description of a character or like an area or what you need to do for the quest, I think that actually served it better off rather than having a huge chunk of text that like you wouldn't bother with that at all because you don't give that much of a shit anyway. But here you are, like you're only presented with a tiny little dialogue box. Like it takes a second to read it and then you're off. So.
True, but I think it is a good thing for simplicity's sake and definitely for readability's sake. And I definitely got the message from it. It's just I didn't remember it because it wasn't the loudest thing in the room at the time. It was like a little dialogue box popped up while there was someone screaming at the other end of the room saying, "Oh, come over here, listen to me, come over here," and like like all these cameras flying around and looking at characters and stuff like that. So it was a very interesting intro and it got me interested in a lot of things. It's just. It shouldn't have been the loudest thing in the room when the players were trying to be taught something. I think it should have been sort of like maybe during the gameplay when you're just about to be taught like a button input or like a certain mechanic. Pause the game, like slow down everything, mute everything, and then suddenly this is blah, 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 this is how you blah, 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 and then goes back to the action or whatever. It just didn't take a break for long enough, and too many things were happening at once. that I think it was too hard to retain any sort of useful information from it.
Right.
And because of that tutorial, for me, like I can't speak for anyone else, but for me, the tutorial didn't quite work for me. So I didn't really understand half of the systems going into the game, which I did try and read up on and ask Zach, because I was playing with him during the start of the game, like a few.
You were playing with him.
Yeah, I was in the few levels. We gained a few levels together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Leveled each other up. It's a good time.
No, I was talking about the game, but okay.
Yeah.
Leveled
Okay.
that we did.
Yeah, go on.
But yeah, basically, because I didn't know those sort of things, I saw the sort of moment that I coined just before a lot earlier. Like I noticed, I'm just killing things with my numbers to get bigger numbers, so I can fight things with bigger numbers and shoot bigger numbers at them. That came across really early because I didn't really, understand where all these arbitrary points were going.
Sure.
Like, what's a moxie? What's a grit?
Yeah.
That wasn't really.
I know that when I first went to the game, all those stats and things, the new words for the stats like finesse, brutality, moxie, grit, tech, all that sort of stuff. I had no idea like exactly what they did for my character, and like depending on what character I chose, like what I should be focused on building for that specific character.
Yeah.
But like any other game, you'd go on the internet and you'd read up a bit about your class, and you'd figure out that okay, if I'm this particular class, I need to stack brutality over finesse, blah blah blah. So then you just sort of get you kind of lock those stats into the regular MMO kind of stuff anyway. So you got your attack power, you got your strength, you got your health, all that sort of stuff. So it just because like they wanted to be different because they're a new MMO, so they had to sort of set themselves apart from the rest of the competition on the market. So having the regular stats like strength and fucking attack power and like magic power and all that sort of stuff, like they wanted to set themselves apart from that and try something completely different. And it's admirable that they do that. Change things up a bit, change the words up, change the stats up, change how you view your character and how you build your character. But at the same time, it's also disconnecting because it is different from everything else in the market, everything else that you've been
used to doing
before with all the other MMOs. So now you come into this new one, you're like, wait, whoa.
Yeah.
This is all different.
Hey, that's also a very good point. That's a good point.
So I think that also served to disconnect a lot of players from the starting area where they were just sort of confused about like what the stats were, what their characters were, what was going on, what was happening. So
especially exactly for a game which is doing a lot of things really newly, or things that haven't been done much before, like the whole telegraph attack system, and all the different like action.
I think the telegraph
moves.
attack system is really cool.
Yeah, but if you're going to introduce players into a new format or a game or things that people maybe haven't tried many times before,
you kind of have to walk through.
That tutorial has to be really.
Yeah.
Tutorial has to be really tight and the loudest thing in the room for at least 10 minutes at the start of the game.
But again, like that's if your target audience is for the general population.
Yeah.
I believe that WildStar's devs made the game with the focus of
appealing to MMO players.
Appealing to hardcore MMO players who know what goes on with an MMO, know like what the systems were and everything that they're going to be doing. So like a lot of their dev speaks, the little videos that they upload about certain
I've seen a few of those
things in the game, a lot of them are catered towards the hardcore audience in terms of like the war plots and the raids and all that sort of stuff. They're all very hardcore.
So they know who they're targeting.
Yeah, they know who they're targeting. They know
fun.
like what kind of person they want playing their game, which is someone that loves 40-man raids with fucking super hard bosses, crazy environments and crazy puzzles and levels and all that sort of stuff, and awesome gear and shit like that. So they're just gonna keep hammering on that particular audience, and because of that, they end up alienating the general audience that don't really know much about the MMO space.
Yeah.
So
I can't say that I'm a hardcore MMO guy. Like, if a good MMO comes around, I'll play it.
yeah.
I think the first
What
MMO...
constitutes as a good MMO?
Yeah.
it's subjective to me.
WoW?
Yeah.
Did you play WoW?
No, I didn't play WoW.
Why didn't you play WoW? What was wrong with WoW?
What the deal was that the first MMO I ever played was RuneScape. And that was great.
Ah,
And
yeah. I played that.
Everyone played RuneScape.
Everyone played RuneScape. And around the time I was playing RuneScape, I playing that for a whole bunch. It was free. I was a kid. That's good.
Yeah.
And then when I heard about World of Warcraft and stuff like that, I just saw it as this thing where, like, I've got to pay to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm only a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't have a job. I was still in, like, what?
Yeah, well, like
Early high school or
The
something like
monthly
that.
subscription
Yeah.
was like, you'd be like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
50
exactly.
a month.
But then when the time came around when I had a job and I was a bit older and I was considering it, I'm just like, this looks like a great game. I know I don't really know that many people who play it though, so I wouldn't really have that many friends to play with in the game. And also sort of like I've heard a lot of things that World of Warcraft is really, really good and you get addicted. And I'm always the guy who, like, if there's a really addicting game, I'll just do that to death. So I didn't really want to get
to
caught.
feed and drink and just sort of sit there as a husk.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a part of my life where I needed to get shit done. I was moving across the country and trying to set myself up here where I am, and didn't really have the time or money to invest in something else at that time. So I didn't really pick it up. And then, lately when I've been thinking about it, I've just been playing other games which I think a bit better. And, so I've always thought about World of Warcraft, but I've never really gotten around to it for whatever reason. And I'm not sure if I will.
Yeah, don't. It's just
It's too late now.
Yeah,
I think
too
to jump
late
into
now.
WoW.
Really?
I think I'm not a MMO player at all. Like, I dip my toes in RuneScape. Like, the MMO for me that excites me, I guess, is Destiny.
Yeah.
It's like Borderland, everything.
Yeah.
in one-
MMO-ish.
So like, I'm not a hardcore MMO player. So like, I tried playing WoW. I tried playing the Star Wars one. I tried playing Guild Wars. I just couldn't. It probably sounds lazy.
It's probably the grind that turns.
The grind is like I can do grinds in other games, but this MMOs just didn't seem engaging enough for me. So like
It's probably because like one gripe that a lot of people have with MMOs is that they just don't feel like they impact the world enough, personally, because everything that you do, like a specific enemy that you kill,
Someone
it's
else
like
can
some
kill.
chieftain or something like that, it'll just respawn like 2
Yeah,
minutes
and someone
later.
else comes along
and you'll
and
be
kills
like,
them.
well, like, what am I really doing in this world? I'm just going through the motions and killing shit that's just respawning.
And that's part of what I was
like,
talking
I don't
about.
have any impact on this world at all. Why bother?
Yeah.
So like games like Skyrim and stuff, the single player RPGs,
Yeah.
obviously you're going to have a huge impact on the world because it all revolves around you.
Yeah.
But with an MMO, when it's
around the
revolving
world.
around,
Like,
yes,
it's focused
like
around
6
the world.
million
Yeah.
other players, you can't really have that personal effect on the world.
Yeah, that's
and
very
feel
cool.
like
I
you're
really didn't
changing.
think about that, but like that's probably what it comes down to me. Like, I love single player RPGs,
Yeah.
single player story games, because it does, like, adventure games. Not you, but like you focus on the character itself.
Yeah.
So I think narrative. If somehow an MMO could have this awesome narrative for one player, I don't know if it ever could.
Thing is,
It'd be
they've
too
tried
hard.
it.
Yeah, it'd be too hard.
They're trying, and they've tried it in the past. Games like Star Wars. The
Yeah,
Old
I feel like
Republic
Star Wars probably
that
tried.
whole sort of single focus RPG centric kind of game where
Like BioWare is known
yeah,
for
you know,
like
the-
story writing and stuff.
yeah,
like that.
exactly. So
they tried.
You had all your choices and dialogue and all the class and race specific
Yeah, of course.
things.
But,
unfortunately, it just didn't
MMOs
work.
for the niche. Not that it's a big niche to like or to be involved with.
Yeah, I think there's the MMO market definitely polarizes gamers in general. Like, you're either really into MMOs or really not.
Yeah,
It's just like
what did Luke always say about WoW?
you basically said you're a loser if you play it because
You can never win.
You can never win.
Yeah.
There's nothing to win in that game, and if you play the game, you're just a loser. You know,
Luke.
both senses.
We're referring to Luke McMillan. He's a really smart guy.
He's a smart guy.
He was one of our
Doctor of
lecturers.
video games.
He's
A doctorate in video games, so
Which
you
is
know
pretty amazing.
it's legit. No, but he's a really cool guy. He knows what he's talking about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, That's
Yeah.
basically it. That one MMO that I used to play a lot and never really got bored was I was told it was a WoW clone, but I don't know, what a WoW clone would be since I never played
Well,
WoW.
I mean,
But it was an old MMO back in 2008 or something called Earth Eternal. It was really
That sounds
fucking good.
familiar, maybe.
haven't heard of it. Actually.
Yeah, not many people would have heard of it. It never left beta, but it was one of the best MMOs I played.
Oh wow.
For a lot of reasons, which I might break down later. It's not really, time for it now. But that was the one game which really did it well in terms of like it had a good player impact on the story, player impact on the world.
So a lot of instancing going on where
Yeah.
you'd have a particular impact and then that would affect it, and then you
Well,
go
not
to
even-
the next instance where that was now a part of the
Oh
world.
no, not at all. Like things, you killed things and they respawned. Like it's nothing
right.
different in the mechanics
Yeah.
or anything like that. But the community and the different ways that you could set up, it's really hard to explain. But like you felt that you were definitely having an impact on the community and other people because some of the mechanics are like the reviving mechanic. You could. So in the game, when you fought things and you killed them, you gained something called luck, which increases your damage, your damage resistance, and then also the chance of things to drop for you, right? And that goes up to ranking 100. If you die, you lose all of it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Either you pay like a higher gold price to keep 25% of what you had, or you lose all of it for free.
And you have to start again.
And you have to start all over again. People who and in this game, skill points are very rare, right? You can skill into a certain number of things, but once you hit level 50, I think the cap was, there's not a whole lot that you can really pick in. You have to be pretty specialized. Specialized healers could get a revive spell, right? And people would pay them to come revive them because you get revived, you come back with 100% luck.
Yeah.
And so it was just a really if you were a healer or anyone who wanted to purchase that spell, you were always valued in the community and always valued as a player. And it's not just like that. There was different examples of that, like with buffing and stuff like that, which you were actually a valued part of the party and made you feel that way. I don't know. It was a really, really good game in that sort of way.
Did it, right.
It just
Cool.
it didn't take off, but that was the one game I really liked.
Cool. Let's move on to the next topic and keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Would you like to go?
Yeah, sure. I'll have a go. So essentially, this week I wanted to talk about a couple of indie games that I have spotted over the internet. They're coming out this month, so I just thought I'd give a bit of a spotlight on them and showcase them. So first game I wanted to talk about is a multiplayer dungeon crawling experience called Crawl. CRAWL. We'll put a link down underneath this video to the website, so you can visit it and have a look at it if you like.
Yep.
So basically, the whole idea of the game is it wants to bring a sort of competitive multiplayer experience, local multiplayer experience to dungeon crawling.
Okay.
So you have a hero. One player plays as the hero, and you can have up to 1 to 3 friends playing as these sort of spirits that inhabit the dungeon, and you can use those spirits to possess other creatures in the dungeon or traps, and use those to try and kill the hero.
Okay.
So you end up being the enemies for your friend who is the hero,
Yeah.
and the hero is like trying
Love that
to
concept.
hack and slash his way through the dungeon. It's all sort of like 2D, but it's got that sort of
Depth.
isometric kind of depth going
Okay,
on. So
cool.
it's got like it has the illusion of like length and depth, and you can move up and down the screen and go everywhere. And the dungeon is procedurally generated, so each room you go in is like entirely different every single time. So you'll have like different monsters, different items. And throughout the game, you try and level up your guy and race to the finish because your friends are going to be trying to kill you. So you're going to be like grabbing unique weapons and items and all sorts of stuff, the regular stuff that you do through a dungeon romp, and trying to defeat your friends. And if a friend of yours who's a monster defeats you, they end up taking your place in the dungeon. So they immediately take the place of the hero, and then the other friend who was the hero becomes a monster. So your friends trying to kill you are all sort of competing within
Against each
themselves
other,
to try and get the last hit on you to become the hero and get to the end of the dungeon. So it's a sort of it's a race against so many different levels.
Yeah, that sounds
you're
cool.
racing against your friends if you're the enemy, but you're also racing against the hero, and the hero is trying to get to the end as fast as he possibly can, whilst trying to like strengthen himself up to be able to beat the boss. And speaking of the boss, apparently at the end of a dungeon, when the boss comes out, the boss is cooperatively controlled by the friends who are the enemies. So they sort of control like different aspects of the boss to like try and kill the hero. So yeah, it just sounds like a really fun, competitive game to play with your friends and have a laugh with, and just sort of punch each other and
So this is all local multiplayer.
It's based around like local multiplayer kind of thing. So you
be on Steam. Steam as well.
It's on Steam Greenlight at the moment. So it's about to go into early access. I think 17th of July. So this month in like.
Is there a price for it yet, or is it?
No, I don't know about the price yet. But yeah, like
Sounds awesome.
And if you want to play a
we'll
game,
find out in like 13 days, because that's like
That's
basically
it.
2 weeks until it comes out. So
a game pretty much exactly like that, which came before it, was a card game called Munchkin. If you guys have played it,
I love Munchkin.
it's pretty much that. Except in Munchkin you have to pretend like, oh no, I'm not going to kill you. It's like it's a lot of
It's
intrigue
very
as well.
sneaky and
It's like what would you say? Clue on top of it as well, sort of. Not Clue, just like you have to like pretend that you're not going to backstab your friend, and pretend that you don't have a card to fuck them up, stuff like that, and then fuck them up at the last second and run ahead. If
Take the lead.
if you want a great time with 3 or more players, get Munchkin the card game. It's so much fun.
And Crawl, the multiplayer dungeon experience.
Like the concept of Crawl, so it's 3v1.
At the most,
at the most,
3v1 kind of.
As soon as you said that, I thought of Evolve.
Yeah.
In that terms of like, the hero is.
The hero would essentially be the monster.
Yeah, I guess, and then obviously they're the people trying to kill the monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so in Crawl, the hero tries to go through the dungeon,
Yeah.
and avoiding all these whatever.
Yeah. So like every time he goes into a room, there'll be the three other players or however many friends you're playing with. There'll be their spirits sort of floating around the room, and they'll try and find things that they can possess with which to try and kill the enemy. So
cool.
there's different monsters when you go into the rooms. You can like as a spirit you can find new unique monsters as you play the game and figure out how to use those monsters, because each monster has like plays differently. They all have their own attacks and their own special abilities. Like for instance, giant spiders can lay down a web with which they tangle the enemy up, and he gets snared pretty much. You can just go in there and bite the shit out of him. So it's like different ways to play different monsters, and you learn them as you play the game. So you'll find a new monster like a skeleton warrior and be like, oh fuck yeah,
Sounds like a great game.
Get in there and be a melee guy. The other guys are like a couple of spiders, so you can like try and coordinate your attacks, but in the end you want to be the guy to get that last hit on the hero.
When you kill the hero, do you pick up where the hero dies, or where you start again?
That's a good question. I'm not too sure about that. I think that's the case. I think you pick up where the hero dies and keep going. Yeah. Because that makes sense in the context, because it's supposed to be a race to the finish.
And you're basically possessing the player. Just
like
you're
possessing the player and becoming him. I'm not sure if you get all the equipment and items that the player had before. I'm not sure if that's the case. If it is, that's cool. If not, then like I think you probably would get all the stuff that the hero had, just because like otherwise it's a bit of an unfair advantage.
Yeah, because you could like
start from the beginning,
or you start where they die but don't have any of the gear.
Yeah, exactly. And if they're like down pretty deep in the dungeon, then you're kind of fucked. But I think you get everything that the hero had. That's pretty cool.
That sounds like a fun game.
It sounds like a really fun game. So keep an eye out for that one.
Because if you can imagine, like right at the end, say the hero was able to go all the way to the last level, and he's really, really good and really, really tricked out, and all 3 AI just gang up on him at the last second and manage to kill him.
Yeah.
And then that AI suddenly becomes him. Then they'll gang up on him, and then gang up on the last guy, and then the last guy comes out unscathed.
The endless amount of situations.
Yeah.
So many times you can just sort of get that upper hand and really take the win. Which would be really fun.
When I get excited about games where I can sort of imagine just certain situations where it would just be really fun and really hectic. And this has a lot of situations for me where I can think about that. It'd be great.
Yeah. So the second game I wanted to chat about is a game I spotted called, I believe it's called Gods Will Be Watching.
Yeah, I think that was
And basically, it was created for a competition called the Ludum Dare 26. So that's like just a mini game creating competition where you have to make a game. Is it within a certain amount of time?
Yeah, I think it's 48 hours.
Yeah, I think it's about 48 hours. So you're given a theme and you have to make a game within that theme, and there's prizes awarded and all that stuff. So this game was created for the competition where the theme was minimalism. So they tried to create a minimalistic game with which they wanted to bring across a lot of narrative puzzles into the game. So essentially, it's a point-and-click adventure game. You have a team of I think it's about 5 or 6 guys, and you go through 6 different scenarios throughout the game. These scenarios range from like wilderness survival to hostage situations.
Oh, cool.
All of them are supposed to be tense, sort of really like trying to get the player to make decisions on the fly, like really hard decisions, tough decisions that'll
really unnerving
situations. It's that sort of thing. So there'll be like torture situations, hostage situations, all sorts of stuff where you have to make decisions on whether on what you want to do in that situation, and these decisions will affect basically whether or not your team survives, or whether or not you want to sacrifice a certain team member or someone you're trying to protect in order to save the greater good. Because basically all of these scenarios culminate into your team saving like millions and millions of lives.
Yeah, cool.
But as you go through the scenarios, you have to make these really tough moral decisions where do I kill this person in order to save many, or do I save this person because I've grown to like this particular character, that sort of thing. So they really want to focus on that, and from the art style, it's a sort of pixel art style, so a lot of really detailed sprites and backgrounds and that sort of thing, and plenty of blood as well, pixelated blood, because there's I think they really want to get across the violence within these situations, especially I saw some gameplay of the torture scene, and you just got like 2 guys strapped up in a chair, and you have to you can like choose to intimidate them and do all sorts of things to them, and you can there's one moment where some guy gets pliers and rips out the tooth of one of the other guys, and see another guy get his arm held out and chopped off at the elbow, and there's like blood spurting out everywhere. But it's all like pixelated cartoon stuff. But
so it's alright.
I was going to say with like some realistic stuff, that'd be really graphic.
Yeah. So
there's a pixel you can do.
They get around it with having that kind of aesthetic, but at the same time, it still makes you just kind of cringe a little bit, because what kind of situations are going on there. So it's you go through these scenarios, you make these decisions, and at the end of the game, the gods judge you on how you did and the decisions that you made, and then you can compare that across the world with a whole bunch of other people who maybe made similar decisions or different decisions.
Like how The Walking Dead did it.
Yeah, exactly. Like how I think it's Telltale, they with all their Walking Dead games and Wolf Among Us, and they sort of compare what you did with everyone else around the world. So similar kind of style. Essentially,
when you say 6 situations, is it going to be episodic like Telltale? Is it
no. You get all the 6 scenarios straight away, and you just sort of go through them all.
Is this on Steam or? Do you just
I didn't see it on Steam. You can download the demo from their website, so we'll link the website at the bottom. If you can have a look. There's like a gameplay trailer on there, and they explain more about the game as well. And I'm pretty sure you can download the demo from there as well. And if you want to, you can also there's I think there's like a PayPal thing at the bottom. You can give them money if you like, and reserve a copy of the game for when it's released. That I believe that game comes out the 24th of this month. that's the date that comes to mind. I might be slightly off, but I'm pretty sure it's the 24th. So yeah, we have Crawl coming out on the 17th. Great multiplayer dungeon crawling experience. And we have Gods Will Be Watching, which comes out 24th of July. Both very, very interesting games that caught my eye, and I thought, I'd be able to help them out. And
I think it's a good time to release indie games because AAA games, July is very quiet month.
Yeah.
There's nothing that comes to mind that's coming out. Oh, well, Last of Us at the end of the month.
Yeah.
On PS4, but nothing.
Had that game.
Yeah, nothing new. I think it's we can squeeze out a couple good indie games in July.
Definitely.
You have the whole market to yourself,
release.
really.
Yeah, it's a good time to release.
Because there's just literally nothing coming out.
Yeah, and if you market yourself properly, you can
exactly.
You can really monopolize that month for yourself.
Yeah.
Should be really.
What about
really
next month?
August.
I can't think of what's going on in August. Everything's like September.
Yeah,
September's when it starts to pick up.
November is like, bam, that's the 3 big months for gaming.
I know something that's really coming out really big in August.
What?
My birthday.
Oh, okay.
My day of birth. Really big. Everywhere. Parades. Fancy dress balls.
In your mind.
Hey.
It's got like a...
I'm not going to say where it is, but it's big. Trust me.
It's not. Yeah, I don't.
You're
cool?
not invited. I'm good. That's all I wanted to talk about.
So indie games this month. Look out for those.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll move on to my topic.
Yep.
Mine's, I guess, more of a... We're just going to bring our opinions out. My topic this week is going to be our favourite game series from the last generation. So PS3 and 360.
Okay.
What series stands out for you? What's your favourite?
Series.
Few games from that series.
Well, what's yours?
Well, I'm kind of two in my mind.
Go on then.
A bit of a cop out, but I'll say the Batman Arkham games.
Oh, yeah.
Asylum, City, and I guess we'll include Origins to that. Yeah, but it's part of that, but it's not necessarily. But I mean,
it's not the rough set each.
No, but even then, just the first 2 Arkham games, then Asylum and then City, and then probably the Uncharted trilogy. I think 3 really good games. Constantly got better. From 1, 2, 3, constantly got better. If I had to choose out of the 2, probably go the Batman games, just because who doesn't want to play as Batman?
Plus, I think the Batman games were just some games that just seemed richer with the world. And
of course. There's so much story to work with. There's so much lore. I mean, you got the whole DC universe.
And the gameplay, I believe, for Batman is just it's more varied. You got that Predator kind of
or full-out attack. And
you can just go in and punch them around. Or you got those sort of sandboxy type areas where you can pick and choose how you want to
exactly
attack.
I mean, I think when the Asylum came out, 2008 maybe or 9, I don't know. That was the first properly good superhero game. I think that the industry acknowledges that being one of the best superhero games at the time.
Yeah,
I think I loved the first Batman. I played that multiple times through through the difficulties, just getting better at it. I think just being Batman is awesome, and then to know these stories, to get to know a bit about Batman, a bit about Joker, a bit about
it gives you the rundown.
Gives you a little bit of background for
a lot of the villains.
And for me, that kind of also got me back into comic books with obviously Batman. Just having to, I need to know all this lore about this character, read this comic book and stuff like that.
It definitely piqued the interest of
definitely.
a lot of people.
And I think when City came out, it just skyrocketed again. I think it fixed, or it didn't fix, but it added so much more to what Asylum was. Gave you a bigger world. They let you keep the gadgets you had at the end of 1 or Asylum. It's I don't have to start again as Batman. I'm still awesome. I'm still Batman. So I think those games are awesome. I think as a series for the last generation, I think it's one of the best. One of my favourite ones.
I would say it definitely is.
Uncharted's a close second. I just think because it's a Sony fanboy-ish kind of person. That was awesome. To have an awesome 3 games
Yeah.
on the PS3. Like,
Yeah, Naughty Dog did really well.
and like as I said before, like I love story-driven games, and like Batman as well as like they're both story-driven games. Like you play this character, you get to be this character, and like with Uncharted being Drake, like you got to experience a lot of things with him, and like I think Uncharted where was the run of it wasn't like the most special third-person action game, but like the way it looked, the way it was told, I think was really engaging for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, what are yours? If you can think of one.
Of last gen, this is true of every gen, but I've always loved the Ratchet and Clank series. I think they've just done really, really well.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, well, you know me. I've said that before. But basically, it's always been a very solid series by very smart people, very experienced devs with a really good idea about...
Insomniac did those.
Insomniac, yeah. I've just got a really good idea of what's fun and, you know, a good design sense. And the first 3 games on the PS2 were mind-bogglingly good. The best, it just sort of apexed at number 3. Like, the first, you know, 3rd game in a trilogy that I've seen, which is actually better than the second. Yeah, that's true of like a lot of games, a lot of movies actually.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But number 3 was like one of my favorites until they brought out the PS3 series, and a lot of people didn't really like the PS3 series because they thought it was too much for Jump. But I felt that it was the.
What do you mean by Jump though? Like in terms of just like I don't know, people just didn't like it that much because it was new, I guess. There's a lot of stigma around it for whatever reason. But I liked it just, yeah, I know. But yeah, I just liked it just as much as the PS2 trilogy. It came out as Tools of Destruction was the first one on the PS3. Then A Crack in Time, was it? Oh, Quest for Booty was in there.
Yeah, they have a bunch of little games with like, you know, 1.5.
Good names for video games as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
every
great
single
names.
Crack in Time.
Crack in Time,
Punch
Quest for
for
Booty.
Butts.
Yeah, exactly. Up Your Arsenal.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, and then A Crack in Time I think was one of my favourite Ratchet and Clank games. It's pretty much tied with number 3 with me. Like in terms of just quality, and it's just overall really good. They just perfected the series in the art form really.
How many did they release on the PS3? They released a fair few. Like
4 or 5?
3 main games.
Well, yeah, when they start off on the PS3 they released a bunch of mainline Ratchet games, and then around that time they split into 2 studios, one in one in North Carolina and one in California. And so the one in North Carolina was maybe like the B team. I wouldn't say B team; they're just as good, but they released different types of games.
Yeah.
So they released a bunch of games like Quest for Booty, and All for One, and Full Frontal Assault, which are like Ratchet games, but they weren't the same Ratchet formula. They were like Full Frontal Assault was like a mix of a MOBA and Ratchet game. Up Your Arsenal was a 4-player co-op adventure game over a Ratchet game. It was sort of like a Ratchet game, but it's like sort of different art.
Different.
Yeah, different art style, targeted a little bit younger and stuff like that. And then there was the Quest for Booty, which was actually really, really good. It was basically like it bridged the gap between the first and the second of the trilogy on the PS3.
Okay. Cool.
It was like for like $30, and it lasted about 6 hours, but it did really well. And then they released Into the Nexus, which was
Not as good pun.
not Into the There was a bunch
There's
of
a lack of a pun.
Lack
really.
of fun.
well, actually, if you read into it, there's a bunch of puns that they wanted to do, but the ERSB didn't let them. It was getting pretty lewd, but so they had to stick with Into the Nexus. Like it's just like, you know, it's if
Were
you
they
spell it
actually
out.
going to go for Into the Anus or something?
No,
like that?
but it was like that.
I don't feel like
But they actually
Just like straight up.
yeah, I know.
bum.
No,
Right up the bum. That's what they call it.
You'd be-
Ratchet Clank right up the
you
bum.
would actually be surprised, but if you spell out Into the Nexus, into the next arse. That's my theory. You know, it could be it. Into the next arse.
Quite possible.
So
Yeah, they could have done that.
there you go. But yeah, I thought it was pretty strange that they didn't, you know, do a pun this time around.
Yeah.
But then I thought about it.
They're trying to make us think clever. Be like, they've got to think about this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They made you work for it.
yeah, exactly. It's been more cerebral.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, definitely Ratchet and Clank as a series is the best on PS2 and PS3.
But okay, I'm going to ask you, which is the better? I guess because graphically the PS3 is not, but like, which of the 3 or of the PS2 or PS3 generation of Ratchet and Clank, which was better?
I have to try and think about it with that nostalgia goggles on, really, because I played those first three, and they were like masterpieces. But there are a lot of flaws in number one, and a few
The masterpieces, but there's fucking shit.
Oh no, yeah, well,
Plenty wrong with them.
no,
No,
but like
no.
there are only things wrong with them because you compare them to like newer ones in the series where they improve on things you didn't
of
think
course.
you needed to improve on.
Ah, yeah, sure.
But like, and they streamline processes and stuff like that. Because like, if you compare number one to say number three. Number one, you have to manage all your weapons ammo accounts differently and pay for them and pay for each unit individually. And it takes fucking ages. But like at the time, there's no problem with that.
Sure.
Because like that's just how it was done, and there was no other alternatives to really compare it to. But then number three, you press one button at an ammo vendor, and all your ammo's restocked. And that like those sort of little streamlines.
Ah, yeah. So they just streamline.
So it's not like the first few games in the series were bad. It's just they found out ways to streamline and make it better. And I think that's a hallmark of a really good developer. Just like figuring out, okay, these are really, really good design decisions here and really good mechanics. We just need to streamline it from here on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. But yeah, I would probably say the PS2 ones.
Sure.
Just because it was like undiluted, sort of like the feeling of having a new series and the direction it was going and the story and stuff like that. Not to say the PS3 ones didn't have all those sort of things. It just felt like it departed a little bit too much, but it was still a great game series.
Sure.
It didn't have that new series smell.
Yeah,
No,
I
of
guess
course,
so.
yeah.
I guess so.
PS2
Yeah,
ones,
yeah.
Everyone was accustomed to Ratchet and Clank on PlayStation.
Yeah,
Like,
and there wasn't as many memorable characters, and they've tried to put a few side characters for fun and because they might be interesting, but they weren't as interesting as they thought they were going to be. So like you have that situation where they bring in a bunch of new characters for people to relate to, but they're not that great. Whereas the ones on PS2 were just so great. Every side character was so much fun. But yeah, it was just sort of like it's a different mood, I guess, in the first three than it was in the PS3 sequels.
Okay.
But yeah,
So Ratchet and Clank.
Just
the last two generations, really, for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
And
That's right.
and also the reason I picked the first three is I actually listened to a bunch of podcasts that the original developers did of the first three games in the series, and they went through all the design decisions, and like I sort of got a peek into everything they were doing and why, and that's really good. Like it was really fun to watch. So if you want to actually go watch that, if you're interested in it, or if you're a developer looking for notes, I think it's Useless Podcast on YouTube. Yeah, it's two guys who are junior designers on number one, then senior designers by number three. So yeah, it's interesting to see how they progressed and
That's awesome.
all that sort of stuff. Yeah,
Good feeling.
Zach, go on.
So I was going to probably do something similar to what Shane did, something that's spanned over the last two generations. Just because I can't really think of one
standout from the last generation.
Stand out from the last generation. I was going to say the Max Payne series.
Yeah.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Yeah. Just like the first two, Max Payne 1 and Max Payne 2, full Max Payne, being fantastic games, both in terms of gameplay and narrative.
Yeah.
From Remedy.
Remedy back then, yeah.
Remedy being fantabulous in what they do. So yeah, I think like those first two games were just so different from what we had at the time.
Sure.
Max Payne 1 in particular, having that sort of noir type story and narration and exposition and all those comic panel type cinematics in between. Well, not cinematic, but yeah, comic type bridges in between certain gameplay areas and stuff. Just like the story was just so engaging. The characters were so well realized, and all their motivations were just so real. And the areas that you played in were just really cool to explore and have a look around. And of course, the fucking bullet dodge mechanic for the first time coming in there.
Yeah.
Just like getting that sweet slow mo shot right in the head and seeing them go whoa, fall backwards, flying away. Yeah. It was such a great game to play, such a joy, even though it was a really depressing story.
Yeah.
But it was a really good story. It was a really well told story.
Yeah.
And that was such an enjoy What am I trying to say?
Enjoyable.
Enjoyable. That's the word.
There you go.
Enjoyable.
Enjoyable. And it's such an enjoyable and gratifying story that like it. Moving on to the second one, Max Payne 2, it's just like I think I like Max Payne 2 more than I like Max Payne 1, just because that extra step in where the characters are developed.
Yeah,
like Max
of course.
Payne older, he's grizzled, he's got like you know, he's been through all that, but then he's about to go through all that again, but in that sort of different style. And then you got, you know, the bad guy at the end of it ending up, spoiler alert, ending up being the you know, your best friend, not your best friend, but one of your good friends from the first game, the Russian Vladimir, ends up being the villain of the second game, and having that realization through the game, and sort of figuring that out, and all the areas that game took you to. Like one of my favorite levels in Max Payne 2 would be the fun house. You get to. It's like I think it's one of the earlier levels, but you go in there and it's so crazy and like so imaginative, and there's all those areas with like just insane amounts of mind fucking kind of references to the TV shows that are on. Like I can't remember what the TV show is called, but I think it's like the Pink Flamingo or something like that. But it was like a really just fucked up TV show about some pink flamingo with like that talked in a fucked up demonic voice, and it was all about. I think that show kind of showed off an alter ego between Max, like, and the character within the TV show. A lot of the TV shows in the game had that sort of connection between Max and his character, and like what he was going through was like sort of spun on a bit on the TV shows that you could watch throughout the game and get to like the new areas and stuff. So like just that added effect of immersion and like and extra things that are in the world that are not necessarily a part of what's going on, but are still joined within the overarching story and the characters. It's just like it was so interconnected, and it was connected so well that it was like the whole game as a whole was just fantastic to play, and was just so riveting in terms of the story and the characters and everything that went on in the game. And the gameplay was fun too. I mean, shooting everyone in the face and jumping around was really, really cool. And then Max Payne 3, made by Rockstar, comes out for the Xbox 360 and PS3 generation. And that took a bit of a departure from what Remedy was doing with Max Payne 1 and 2. A lot less... like the levels were a lot less open, and like a lot less puzzle going on. I think like what Rockstar tried to do with Max Payne 3 was they basically wanted it to be a sort of a demo for themselves in terms of making a third-person shooter with the Euphoria physics and like basically having that fine-tuned shooting that Max Payne 3 had, where you know, every bullet is on target within that small white reticule, and then like they basically grabbed that and moved it into GTA 5. So it was essentially the whole game was kind of like it was like this is what I think anyway. It was just basically one experiment for that system that they created for the shooting and that sort of action type gameplay that they had thrown in there. And then the story around Max Payne 3 was really well done. Classic Rockstar. They have the great cinematics and the great characters.
Yeah, it was really well told.
In a really, really believable world. And I love playing Max Payne 3 over and over again because you just have the system that they built it upon, that whole combat system, the shooting, the bullet time,
makes it enjoyable.
The Euphoria physics, just because like every time you play it's slightly different in the ways that you can kill people. And I find that really enjoyable.
Sure.
Going into the same area and shooting the same people, but like having it
approaching
play out slightly differently every single time. It's just really, really fun. So yeah, I think like in terms of playability, I think number 3 would take the cake in terms of just
Gameplay.
coming back and being able to play the game as much as possible. But in terms of storytelling and narration and world building, I would definitely say like
The first two.
number 2 would take the cake over number 1. But the first 2 were part of that
Yeah.
package
Okay.
of just delivering something really unique and really, really cool that the generation didn't really have until that point.
Yeah.
So Remedy really hallmarked that.
Yeah. Hey, great.
There we go. It's another week of the Tomato Sauce podcast. We're done.
We went through all 3, didn't we?
3 topics.
All 3
Time goes fast when you're talking about
Games.
bullshit.
Yep, that's essentially
stuff that we love.
Yeah. So hashtag MMO moment. I'll put it as an annotation
Please.
right here.
You won't.
Do it.
Please.
You don't edit the video.
Yeah,
Well,
this
I
guy
do.
doesn't edit.
So, that's this week.
Yep.
3 guys, 3 topics around this table.
Yeah. 3 guys, 3 topics.
It's not as loud as every other time I do it now. I'm restricting
3
myself.
guys, 3 cups.
Yep, that's a
One tomato sauce bottle
You'll find that on xvideos.com.
and a microphone.
So you can follow us on Twitter. They're here throughout the video. Remember, you can choose the topic if you want. You can skip Shane's because about MMOs if you want.
Okay, yeah, good idea.
I would.
Yeah.
You guys are bullies.
Remember, every week, youtube.com/The Rich Tomato, you'll find us here. Again, 3 guys, 3 topics.
We'll be back next week.
See
with some
you
more
next
stuff.
week.
Bye.